Welcome to the Power Zone Sports Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about
Tom Brady's moving on.
Please like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter. A link will be down below. And I'll give this podcast to my brother.
So, for the first time since 2001, the New England Patriots will have somebody other than Tom Brady under center when this Patriots team begins play next year. So, Tom Brady, it was announced on social media that he had decided to move on from the Patriots, and he is now going to play ball for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, signing a 2-year contract. And Tom Brady, the most heavily, no one has won more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the 6-time Super Bowl champion, a 4-time Super Bowl MVP. That is also a record. Tom Brady has thrown for over 70,000 yards passing with the Patriots, and now he's going to move on to the Buccaneers. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously, and their fans are very excited that they're going to get probably the most decorated quarterback in the history of the league to play for their team for 2 years. And the Patriots fans are encouraging the team to go ahead and tank for a year and draft the Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence for the first pick in the draft next year. But the Patriots, I did some research. Patriots already have a backup quarterback on their roster that they seem to have been grooming for this moment in case Tom Brady ever went down with an injury or decided to go elsewhere. And Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback out of Auburn University, is going to quarterback this team presumably next season. And he's a third-round selection out of Auburn, and preseason's always a little bit to be desired, but clearly there may be a quarterback competition between him and who else ever decides to sign with the team in free agency, Brian Hoyer or whoever else that would be. The Patriots still have a very talented team around them, but I never thought I would see the day that Tom Brady's final throw would be an interception that was returned for a touchdown in the divisional loss to Tennessee. It's a crazy thing to think that would be the memory of Tom Brady in New England. I thought the memory would be Tom Brady hoisting up his 6 Lombardi trophies, as he is the quarterback that's won the most Super Bowls. Nobody has ever won more than he has, and it'll be a long time before you ever see that type of dominance from one quarterback in the league ever again. Other free agency movement in the NFL. Also, the Colts now seemingly have a quarterback, as they have Phillip Rivers was released by the Chargers and will now be quarterbacking the Colts as he agrees to a contract worth $25 million for 1 year. So the Colts have their quarterback now with Phillip Rivers. And Rivers, of course, will forever be known as the guy that was drafted by the Chargers after Eli Manning refused to play for the Chargers. And, of course, the Chargers always getting close to the point where they could get to the Super Bowl, but never could get to that point to get over the top and beat the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl or get past them in the divisional round. And it'll be interesting to see what the Chargers do now. And other moves in free agency. Todd Gurley, the running back of the Los Angeles Rams, was released, and he will now be signing a 1-year contract, with the Falcons 1 day after the Rams let him go. And, of course, Amari Cooper, the Cowboys' number 1 wide receiver, He's going to be staying with the Cowboys, a 5-year, $100 million contract, and also one of the best comeback stories of the NFL in a long time. Teddy Bridgewater, the former quarterback of the Vikings, whose knee exploded on a non-contact injury. Looked like his career was over at that point, but he managed to get back and get himself back into game shape. He's now going to be quarterbacking the Carolina Panthers, who have now released Cam Newton. So the Panthers are also moving on at quarterback, and it will be interesting to see how that will turn out for them as well. And we'll see what happens with Cam Newton. Cam Newton, of course, one of the most highly touted quarterback prospects out of Auburn, and of course he led the Carolina Panthers to Super Bowl 50, and then they proceeded to come up short against the Denver Broncos in a game that really should have been closer than it was. But the Denver Broncos, of course, Peyton Manning's final game, and the Broncos came out on top, and the Carolina Panthers went back to the bottom of the pile, as John Madden would say. After you win the Super Bowl, the winner hoists the trophy, and the loser goes back into the pile. And of course, also yesterday was March 28th, 3/28. Of course, the Atlanta Falcons up 28-3 in Super Bowl 51, and they blew the 28-3 lead. And of course, the Patriots went to overtime, but the Patriots ended up getting the touchdown and winning in overtime. First overtime championship game the NFL had since the 1958 NFL championship, when the Baltimore Colts defeated the New York Giants in overtime. So that was a pretty interesting, pretty interesting moment there. So it's been a pretty interesting off season. Of course, off season is always lots of player movement, lots of rosters trying to get improved for the upcoming season. We've got the draft coming up in April, and it's going to be further to see what the teams are going to do, especially teams with new coaches like the Cowboys. What will Mike McCarthy do in the draft? Of course, the Cowboys just signed the safety from Green Bay, Clinton Dix, and he's been a good safety for a while, and hopefully the Cowboys will continue to move on and improve the secondary in the draft. So lots of interesting moves upcoming with free agency and the draft to come. And if you are stuck in the house with nothing to do, here's something I've come up with kind of humorously. It's a sports movie watch list. If you haven't seen these movies, if you need something to pass the time, a sports movie watch list is something that I've thought of. So I'm going to start off in the baseball department here. We're going to start off with, the greatest baseball movie ever made, Field of Dreams. Start off with Field of Dreams. Of course, if you build it, they will come. Next one I have on my list here would be the classic movie Pride of the Yankees, about Lou Gehrig, and that still holds up well all these years later. The next one I was going to recommend would be the baseball movie 8 Men Out, about the 1919 White Sox and the Black Sox scandal that ended up getting a hold of baseball that year. Another one I'd recommend, of course, I'd have to put something related in here to a young hurler who ends up winning the World Series for his team. The movie Rookie of the Year is another movie that I would recommend in the baseball department, and that's one that I do recommend in the football department. And of course, really only one film that I thought really stood out to me in the football department. That was the movie about Brian Piccolo, Brian's song, the movie about Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo and how they formed a bond. And then, if I remember right, Brian Piccolo developed cancer and ended up passing away. And the movie was based on his life at the time. Brian's Song is a football movie that I would recommend. Like I said, I'm not all alone here. Is there some other movies that you would recommend to watch during this time period? Go ahead and drop a comment or hit me up on Twitter at PZN Sports or like the Facebook page and drop a comment on it. I didn't really go into the golf category yet. I haven't really watched a golf movie yet, but we'll give that one a shot. And of course, I could recommend a movie I hadn't seen yet. Like I could have put Hoosiers on here, but I can only put movies on here that I had seen firsthand at the time. So if there's any movies that you would recommend, go ahead and add that on the list. Comment below, and you can help me out with the sports movie watch list.
Thanks for listening to the Power Zone Sports Podcast. Please like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter. I'll link will be down below. And I'll see you next time in the next podcast. Bye!